Hello everybody and welcome to the Import-Export Hub channel. Bogdan here, your host for the next couple of minutes. I hope that you're all doing great, and without further ado, let's dive into today's topic, in which I will cover and try to shed some light on the topic of distribution channels. As basically an exporter of goods has roughly 5 types of distribution channels from which to choose in order to make his or her products available on a foreign market. And here, the level of risk, administrative complexity, and or costs incurred in the export activity are positively correlated with the number of actors or partners present in the supply chain. Personally, I am not big fan of complexity, especially in the supply chain. But then again, nowadays, when everything is interconnected, we have to be flexible enough to accept and even embrace complexity. But anyways, guys, as I was saying, there are 5 pathways to export, and these are, I'll be very quickly here: exporter to consumer, exporter to retailer, exporter to wholesaler. The fourth type is through a distributor, and finally we have exporter to an agent or a broker. So basically, what we're seeing here is something like a wall, if you want, in which each additional brick, let's say, or actor adds complexity. And of course, depending on the type of the supply chain, each exporter will choose the right distribution channel for his or her activity, because let's face it, there is no one size fits all distribution channel. Things are flexible, or at least should be, and change every time. You have to be flexible also, and depending on the type of the business, a company can have different distribution channels in different export countries. And very important here, from my point of view, communication with all the actors in the supply chain is a key element, especially when it comes to, I don't know, pricing strategy, marketing, duration of the contract, or forecasts. Now, in terms of choosing the right distribution channel, my personal point of view is that the level of complexity is inversely proportional with the level of business maturity, if you want, and export experience. And here I thought of an analogy, and the first that came in my mind, it was related to my experience during the driving school, long time ago, by the way, in which I was told that there is the clutch, there is the stick, you have the signal, Bogdan, don't forget about the pedestrians and other vehicles and so on. My head was full with information. I'm sure that you all had the same feelings as I did. I felt that I will never be able to coordinate myself and drive, but with practice and experience, driving the car became a pleasure. And I think that the same applies with the distribution channels as well, and exporting, if you want. And here I repeat, this is just an analogy. The more experienced and, if you want, the bigger you are, the less complex the type of distribution channel should be. Of course, there are exceptions here, mostly, I don't know, concerning direct-to-consumer brands who opt for a knee fulfillment center from the beginning. They are a special category. Data is very important to them. Reaching to the consumer is also very important. I don't consider them inexperienced in the sense on how to get to the consumer. And that's why I put them at the low level of complexity axis, along with high experience. And here, I don't know, as an example, let's take a small or a medium beekeeper in Romania, having also a small packing activity coupled with a labeling one, who, I don't know, produces a special type of honey. He believes in his product and wants to export it, as, I don't know, the Romanian consumers are not willing or able to pay the price he requests. Or, I don't know, the local specialty stores he's selling to in Romania don't cover his supply, and he's thinking of exporting. What are his options here? And I don't know, he should sell directly to the customer in Germany or Sweden. My guess is that no, he won't do that. He doesn't know the labeling, or, I don't know, the phytosanitary requirements in those countries. and so on. But instead, maybe he will opt for a small and niche distributor in Germany or Sweden who he met, I don't know, at a food exhibition in Italy, and enter a distribution agreement with him, supporting it with market insights, marketing ideas, or pricing strategies. That's how I see this process, and the most important thing here is to be persistent, almost stubborn if you want, to believe in your product, of course. Always look for new opportunities, share information with your partners, listen to them, and my guess is that the results will come eventually. Anyways, guys, I hope that you've got the idea on how I see the relationship between complexity and export experience in terms of distribution channels. And now I want to move on and break down, if you want, each type of distribution channel and see how they work in very simple terms. And the first type is exporter to consumer, and here the complexity is very low. You sell directly to the consumer or the end customer, which can be done via a traditional brick and mortar store or by selling online. The second type is exporter to retailer, and here you sell directly to the retailer, like, I don't know, a boutique store, and they will sell your product to their customers or end customer. The third type we have here, exporter to wholesaler. Well, here the wholesalers buy large quantities of goods from a range of producers. They provide warehousing, maybe some packaging and labeling activities, and then they sell directly to the retailers. And here the role of the wholesalers is to meet the need of the retailer, their customers, basically, through buying products in a bulk at a discount. And also, guys, in case you didn't know, wholesalers who carry only non-competing goods are called distributors. And this brings me to the fourth type, in which a distributor buys your products and sells them to their customers, which are usually retailers. And distributors are very active, involved in promoting your products on the local market. And lastly, the fifth type is to export to an agent or a broker, and here usually an agent represents your brand but doesn't buy your product. Instead, they pitch your product to their customers, who are the distributors and the wholesalers. And now, guys, that I've covered the 5 types of distribution channels, I want to cover a little bit the role of each actor involved, with the pros and cons for each. And I will begin with agents, who basically take orders from the buyers and send the orders to you in order to process it. You then take over the rest, from, I don't know, delivery of the products and invoicing to collection and after sales services, of course, if this is needed. An agent is usually an individual acting on their own, or, I don't know, as a contracted company, and they are usually paid a commission based on the sales they generate. And in some cases, guys, agents also request a monthly retainer in order to, I don't know, represent your brand in the local market, and of course to cover his or her costs of doing business, like, I don't know, traveling, business meetings, or local trade shows. In terms of pros and cons, I will start with the pros here, and the most important ones are that you have control over your branding, marketing, and pricing. And by opting to work with an agent on a commission-only agreement is not necessarily a risky endeavor. Agents also tend to have fewer suppliers and products in their portfolio than distributors, for example, so they could focus more on your products. On the other hand, most of the agents have fewer resources than the distributors, and your involvement, of course, is absolutely necessary in delivering the products, collecting payments, and managing after-sales services, as I've said previously. Now, moving on to the broker. Well, brokers work also on your behalf to get your product into large retail chains rather than smaller specialty stores. In terms of commissions, brokers charge a fee anywhere between, I don't know, 5 to 10%. And as in the case with agents, some brokers might charge a monthly retainer fee to cover their costs, usually asking for a 6 to 12 months upfront retainer when taking on a new brand. And if you choose to work with the broker, a couple of pros are they have industry contacts and relationships with large retail chains from that particular market. They can sell large volumes, they have better trading terms, they can negotiate for promotional displays and shelf opportunities with the retailers. They can provide some market research. You work with a team rather than a single person, and they are more cost effective than hiring your own sales staff. Now, in terms of cons, first of all, brokers represent multiple brands. They can have high upfront costs, the 6 to 12 months retainer I was talking to you about earlier, and they might prioritize other brands, and usually most brokers want exclusivity in that particular area. Now guys, moving on to distributors. Well, here a distributor buys your products from you, of course, and sells them to their customers, including, I don't know, local retailers, the retailers, and even wholesalers. They usually have a broad range of items from, I don't know, products that are complementary to yours to products that are very, very similar. They are the ones who market the product, who carry on stock and extend the credit lines to their customers. And because distributor has more responsibility, they have higher fees as they add, of course, their margin to the product price in order to cover their operations. And you have to consider this when building your pricing strategy. In terms of pros, first you have one customer who theoretically should support you locally, and you have some control over distribution. The distributor also can provide some service to the end customers, and he is the one, as I was saying earlier, holding the stock, and generally in market risks are carried by the distributor. Now, in terms of cons, well, here you have less control over sales, branding or promotion, and distribution markup may reduce the competitiveness of your product in that market. And finally, guys, a wholesaler is basically a company that purchases products from suppliers like farmers or manufacturers. Generally, they buy products in large quantities in order to get the discounted rate and sell in smaller amounts in, I don't know, in their commercial environment or, I don't know, industrial users. Now, opting for a wholesaler won't necessarily help build your brand presence in the market, but will help you in terms of volumes. And in terms of pros, as I've said, you can sell large volumes that can help you also when purchasing from your suppliers as well, so upstream the supply chain. And it also helps you building your economies of scale. On the other hand, the cons are the following. Wholesalers can carry competing products. They focus, as I've said earlier, on sale, not on building brands. And profit margins may be lower after applying the discounts for bulk purchases. And with actors being covered, guys, now that I'm approaching the end of this video, I want to give you a couple of tips in order to help you find the right partner when you start your export and venture, if you want. And the first one, obviously, is to do a little bit of research in order to make a list of all the relevant potential partners in your target market. My second tip is to check the brands they represent, and if they represent competing ones, you should cross them off your list as an option. My third tip would be to try and develop a clear and standardized plan when approaching for a new partner, from, I don't know, company profile, unique selling propositions to goal and realistic expectations. Another tip is related to the defining of the territory they are representing you in. And here, my advice is not to give them an entire country or a region. Another tip is to ask for a marketing plan. Check it with your own marketing plan afterwards. See if you have the same vision and strategy for your business. And if the fundamentals are there, move on with the negotiation. If not, again, cross them off your list. And finally, the last tips are related more to the legal side of the business, and it involves due diligence in order to somehow check references from their suppliers and or customers, but also try to do a credit check in order to see if they walk the talk in terms of financial standpoint. And finally, guys, very, very important here, really try to know the terms of your contract. And my advice is to always, always include a clause that allows you to terminate the contract for, I don't know, non-performance against set goals and sale targets. And guys, with this being said, that's all for today. Thank you all for watching. I really hope that you've enjoyed. Don't forget to hit those tiny buttons below this video. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.